In this demo, I'm gonna explain my code for the application. Uh, so my app is made up of configurations, controllers, data transfer objects, entities. Uh, this jobs folder only has one functionality of which I'll explain. Repositories, which interact with my database, security for JWT, services, which have methods that help my controller functions, util, as well as the main application. But of course, I'm running it with Docker. So yeah, security configuration mainly just for authorizations. Uh, I have Swagger config and web config, which helps with the front end and the back end communicating with one another. Then I have controllers. Uh, I have an admin controller here, uh, where an admin user can only perform these specific functionalities, like getting the top football players in the app. So as you can see, it makes use of the player repository and calls the find top five players by trending rate, calls that method, and that runs. It's made to this endpoint to get the top posts and to get the top users in the application. I have the analytics controller, which is handling requests made with regards to analytics. So if, for instance, you registered in the application and you wanna find out the players that are most trending in the application, then you can make a request to um analytics / trending players, and then it will give you the top trending players. So how it does that is uses this player repository, calls this method in player repository. So if I go to repositories, since it's interacting with our database, it is gonna call this method and find the top five players by trending rating, and that initially brings those players that you need. That's how that functionality works. Here is just giving a summary of uh, total players, total posts, and the total users in the application. This gets the posts by the week. This gets the user growth. Have auth controller as well, which is handling requests with regards to authentication. So if you're registering, you make a request to auth / register, which triggers this register method. The register So my controller methods, what they do is in order to in order to achieve whatever CRUD functionality needs to achieve, it uses the methods within my services over here, right? So for instance, if I'm registering an account, this runs, but within this register function, I'm calling the register method from auth service, of which I locate here. So this is the register method in auth service. This runs, and initially what it does is it uses the user DTO or the user fields here, and it builds the username, email, password, the team supported, the role of the user, and all of that when they register. And then it uses the it uses the save method to save the newly created user to um, the saved user variable by using a user repository, because this ultimately interacts with the database. You'll notice that here I have email service send welcome email. When a user registers an account, they immediately get a welcome message. Uh, so I can't demonstrate that now, but that's what happens when you register an account in the backend. It sends a welcome message using email service, which is another service I have here. which initially sends this welcome message uh, over here. So that's how registration works. Authentication. Uh, Login as well uses the method from auth service. And then you log in. Delete account, you can delete an account. I even have a forgot password method where a user can, if they forgot their password, then this method runs. It also uses the function from auth service to basically send a post request saying that you forgot your password. And in order to reset the password, this method runs over here. So yeah. Then I have comments controller, which is a controller handling requests that have to do with creating, getting, and deleting comments for a specific post. To create a comment, this runs and it calls the create comment method from comment service. Uh, so the create comment method we find here, it's gonna create a specific comment. It does that using the comment fields over here. So the ID of the comment, the content of the comment, the username who created the comment, and it gives the date. Usually when you create a comment, you'll just make use of this field, which is the content field, to create a comment. Uh, so it uses this builder method to build with those DTO fields, and then comment uses the save method to save the comment by using the comment repository. So it just saves that comment. So one interesting thing about comments in relation to posts and also in relation to players, right? Because my application is built in a way where um the what's this posts and players and comments and likes, all of these have relationships with each other and affect each other in a good way, of course. So when a user makes a comment, what happens is uh this add comment impact method, right, is called. What this add comment impact method does initially is it increases the trending rate of a player. So it increases the trending rating of a specific player, right? So when I showed in Swagger the trending rating, which is referring to this over here. So this trending rating is part of the fields in the player DTO. So it increases that trending rating when a comment is made about when a comment is made on a post about a specific player. But yeah, the main question is how is that even possible? Well, this um this add comment impact method comes from our trending service, so it calls that method. Trending service is basically here. As you can see, I have different methods within trending service, right? But if we locate the add comment impact, what it's doing initially is when this method runs, it finds the user by ID. So it finds that player by the player ID using the player repository. So it accesses that user in the database. And once that user is found, it sets the trending rating of that user. Because remember, just now I showed you the trending rating field. So the user has a trending rating that is has a default set to 0, for instance. So when that comment is made, it sets that trending rating, right? Um, and it basically increases the trending rating by 4 because a comment was made for that specific player's post, and then it saves the player's the player fields again in the player repository, and then the player basically will have the football player will basically have an increase in his trending rating. So if it was, for instance, 0, now the player will basically have a trending rating of 4. But depending on the action that takes place on that post, right? Uh, for instance, this add post impact runs when a post is created for a specific player. And when that post is created about a player, the player gets a trending rating increase of 10. Uh, but let's say you remove a comment or you remove a post, for instance, for a player, then the trending rate decreases by 10. Same with comments. If you remove a comment for a specific post about a specific player, that player's trending rating decreases by 4. So that's how trending rating or trending service works. I just jumped into that because I saw that we are calling that method. Um, so yeah, then we have the get comments, which gets comments simply. Delete comments, as you can see. Uh, if you go to delete comments in comment service, right? What you'll notice, of which I just explained now, is it finds the comments in the repository for that specific post about a player. Once it does, it triggers this remove comment impact method from trending service, of which I just explained now. And it goes through that cycle again where it basically decreases the trending rating. Sorry. Yeah, here. Decreases the trending rating of that player once that player is found in the database using player repository. And it decreases the trending rating by 4 of that specific player we made a post about or we removed the comment for. So that's how that works. Um, the like controller does the same thing. When a like is made on a post about a specific player, it's gonna go through the same as it's basically doing the exact same thing but with a minor difference. So let's say I am a user that's logged in and I go ahead and I like uh my friend's post about a football player who scored a hat trick this past weekend. When I like that post, then initially within the controller there's a like service, like post method from the like service of which I created here is triggered. This like post method is initially going to um find the post that we are basically liking, find the user attached to that post, and then it creates a like for that post, saves that like. But after it saves the like, it's gonna use um the method from trending service of which I just explained now. But this time it uses the add like impact method from trending service. And of course, you find that in trending service. What that does initially, when add like impact is triggered, so basically when the user likes a post, this method runs, finds the player ID attached to that post, increases the trending rating of the player for that post by 2. Then it saves the player details again. That's what it does. So like the way I built the application, like almost every single functionality, so the likes, the comments, the creating a post, all of that is going through a very similar cycle. Someone makes a post, post controller runs, the service runs, and then it impacts the trending rate of the player that is attached to that post. uh, that's initially what continuously happens. So that's the idea I implemented in the application. uh, Here you can unlike a post, it's going to do the same thing. You can imagine that when you unlike a post, the trending rate of the player will decrease by 2, simply. Uh, so yeah. Then getting likes. Notification controller is mainly for notifications. Like if someone follows you in the application, say you're using your front in your front end, of which I don't have yet. Um, you can go get your notifications and you'll see, oh, this guy followed me last week Monday, or this guy followed me yesterday, this girl followed me today, or like my post. And you can mark all posts as read by making a put request. So you're editing the post. 2, notifications. Um, sorry, my computer's being slow. My laptop. /read over here. This endpoint. That's what it does. Cool. I have my player controller as well. Uh, this is the controller that handles the request or the functionality to create a player. So with the player controller, only an admin has privileges to create a player. Because that's like default data that is in the application because you're making posts about players. Uh, but everyone can get a player by ID and update a play or updating a player only an admin can do initially. I've also I've placed in here multi-part form data value as an argument. Media type of which I imported here. What this is gonna do is just allows us to add images to the application when we're basically creating a post or creating a player or updating a player's details. You can use the multi-part form data value, which allows you to add images as well, not just text. That's initially what I researched and found over there. When you update a when an admin updates a player's details, have all these fields over here from ID ranging all the way to the player picture, of which is allowed because of this multi-form data value thing here. So yeah, and then deleting a player, of which an admin can only do. Then coming to the post controller, um, for the posts, basically helps with creating a post, like getting a post by ID, deleting a post, and all of that. So I have my post controller constructor, which is initialized by these objects that I create here. This create post function runs when we want to send a post request to /posts in order to create a post. So in order to create a post, we need to put in all these fields, all this field data. The player ID over here that we place is referring to the player we want to make a post about. So if I want to make a post about a specific player, I place the player's ID there. Then it links my post, right, to it's gonna link my post to a specific player because I basically put the player's ID within the field of posts, of which allows me to take in that player's ID over here. Uh, so yeah. Then um, it creates the post, so it builds on that, and what it does is using post service, it calls the create post method within post service, so it goes through that cycle again. Now create post we find here. This method is called to create the post. Sorry, over here. Saves the post to the database using post repository. But now remember, when you create a post, what happens is our add post impact method that I have created, which comes from trending servers. This add post impact method is the same as the other ones I explained from trending servers. It is triggered based off whether we create a post or not. So if I create a post, this method runs and it finds that player, that specific player, by the player ID that I am making a post about. And what it does is increases that player's trending rating by 10 because I made a post about that player. So every time I make a post about a player, it increases the trending rating of that player by 10, referring to this that will increase by 10. And if I um delete a so if a player or if a post is deleted about that specific player, so coming here, then the trending rating will decrease by 10 because I set it over here. Remove post impact runs and decreases the trending rating of that player by 10. That's how that works. And I have search controller, which allows me to search for search for players, search for posts, and search for users. Just by typing a specific keyword. So if I want to search for players, I can basically just type in a keyword related to a player, and it brings up players whose first names start with Sam, for instance. So yeah, it makes use of this method from player repository. This method I created, find by name, containing club or no case. So when that runs, it searches for the player based off the keyword I place within the search bar. So this method runs. So it's basically just making a query for that specific player. Works the same with users. Works the same with posts. I can search for users and I can search for posts with a specific keyword. As you can see here. So yeah, one thing you notice is I make use of the DTO instead of the entities. So as you can see over here, when I search for players, make use of the data transfer objects. Then this is for searching for users, works pretty much the same. Okay, and I have my user controller, which basically is for users. So getting a user profile, updating profile with the image. So updating my own profile. So make a request to users/me. Following a user, which initially is made to /ID/follow. ID is referring to the ID of the user we are following. And when we follow a user service method follow user is called. And I've created that here, which initially helps with following a user. And excuse me, it gets the current user profile and it gets the target user profile of the user we're following, basically. And it links that by using this add method to add the target user to the followings of the current user and vice versa. Then it saves the current user and the target user with newly updated data. What the newly updated data is basically that the user now has a new follower added to followers, or the user has a new follower added to following because he followed that user. That's how that works. And you can also unfollow users wall, get followers, get followings, get the user posts, as well as get the current user, which is yourself. Then I've set my DTOs, my data transfer objects, for comments, all the fields for likes, notifications, players, um, posts. If you notice with posts, the first one is this ID. This ID is referring to um sorry, this ID in posts is referring to the player ID. So we can link the players to a specific post. And then the fields for users. Then sorry, code is being slow. Let's see. This trending scheduler class I created. So how it works is it also goes hand in hand with the trending rate of a player. It's gonna decrease the trending rating of a player um overnight. Is essentially that's how I said it. Uh, so it applies a nightly decay method over here, which runs every night. And um, initially, what it does is it calls this apply decay method from trending servers. What that does is all it's doing is it's gonna reduce the trending rating by 5% every single night. The reason I implement that is to ensure that the trending rating of a specific player doesn't stay the same for like 2 years straight, for instance, but it has to decrease because to make the application more realistic, per se. So it finds all the players using the player repository in the database, and for each player, as it loops through each player, it is gonna basically decrease the trending rate by 5% with this formula. Set the trending rating over here, and then save the player newly updated data uh, to the database. Then it shows that the trending ratings has decayed successfully. So that's what this class is created for initially. Then I have my repositories just interacting with the database for each thing, for all comments, likes, notifications, players, posts, and so on. And then I've explained my services, what they do as well. Uh, and yeah, that's basically how the application works in a nutshell. So in order to here I have my applications YML. This is where I got Swagger to work in the Spring Doc property. I added API docs as well as Swagger UI, and then Swagger works from there. My POM XML, I added this dependency for Swagger to get Swagger running. For Docker, I created this Docker file to create a Docker image. And then here I have my Docker Compose YML, which containerizes the database and containerizes the application. And that's basically how my football application works. Cool.